Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Poker Media Australia podcast. Landon Blackhole here again with my esteemed colleague, managing editor of PMA, Ben Blushke. Ben, great to see you again.
Thanks, Landon. Still in lockdown, both of us now. I think last time we spoke, it was just me. We're both in lockdown now, and I guess just waiting till the world returns to normal.
Seems to be a recurring thing, unfortunately, here in Oz. But we do have a little bit to look forward to, and particularly on the poker side of things. Of course, this being a poker podcast, Sunshine State of Queensland still very much enjoying a lot of the freedoms that us Victorians and New South Welshmen have been yearning for some time. A couple of major events coming up, including the APT Brisbane Season 4 Grand Final next week, as well as a little bit later on into late October. It's the Ville 600 up in Townsville, far north Queensland. We'll be having a chat with the powers that be there in a couple of weeks' time. But we are on the verge, of course, of the return of the World Series of Poker in real life, back at the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino. And we are joined today by 2015 GPI Jury Prize winner, as well as, well, let's face it, he's the walking poker Wikipedia, ladies and gents. He is an absolute master of his craft and one of the nicest guys in the industry. Kevin Mathers, all the way from the US&A. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Landon and Ben. I am honored to be on the Poker Media Australia podcast, and I look forward to those events there in your part of the world. Definitely, it's exciting to see poker happening. I know there's been various issues over the past few months there, so it's good to see poker coming back in some form.
Well, it's certainly come back in a big way in the United States. Of course, the vaccination situation is a lot better in comparison to Australia. We will go into a little bit more detail in just a few moments. But I just want to get your insight into how the poker scene in general is returning in the US. It seems that it's come back and it's coming back in a big way.
Yes, definitely. It's definitely not back to 2019 normal, but we're definitely seeing in some states, definitely Florida and Texas, they have poker has come back in a big way, in Nevada as well. With the World Series of Poker coming back, and we've seen the various tournament series that have been happening at the Wynn, at the Venetian. We've definitely seen some really big numbers, but definitely other parts of the country, like in the Northeast where I'm from, poker really hasn't come back as it definitely hasn't come back to the same levels. There's some rooms that are open, but tournaments are pretty much non-existent. It's like California is definitely, we've seen poker come back, but tournaments have not come back to the levels that we've seen in the past. But with the World Series coming up here at the end of the month, it definitely feels like things are pretty much back to normal in regards to poker.
So, obviously what we're looking forward to is the return of the World Series of Poker. I guess last year we weren't going to have it, and then we had an online version, then we crowned our world champion, and then we had another version, which was a, part live, part online. But of course, nice to come back this year. Just looking in terms of, what they're expecting in terms of numbers, given that, international travel is still low. What are you sort of thinking for this year's WSOP?
I would say, it's kind of all over the place. I've definitely seen people saying that this is going to be like the worst year since the Raymer year, which was about 2,500. There's a lot of people expect the levels will be that low for the main event. And personally, I don't see it that way because, we've definitely seen the success of tournament poker in Vegas. Obviously the internet, especially players outside the U.S. And North America for that matter, the travel situation is definitely not good. I would not be surprised if we see the levels are like, let's say, about 2/3 of what we saw in 2019. I think if we saw entries about that level, I think the tournament staff at the WC would consider that a success. Obviously, it'd be great to welcome everyone back, but unfortunately, situations have made it different. It's kind of odd that by this point the certain travel restrictions have not been alleviated, but people who are traveling now, they sort of have to go to Mexico or Canada for 2 weeks, and then they're able to enter the United States. But and that's obviously that will obviously eliminate the recreational players from turning up. The pros, they don't have a problem. They can enjoy playing online poker or doing whatever for those 2 weeks, and then come into Vegas and have a really good time.
I guess the pent up demand factor is what we're waiting to see. That's the thing that could push it up to some pretty respectable numbers, really.
Yes, definitely. It's definitely when I've seen the numbers from, like I said, Florida and Texas, they were definitely setting records in those areas. And there's definitely, yes, you're definitely right. There's definitely a pent-up demand, and we're seeing. I think that's definitely going to surprise some people. Because like I said, there's a lot of doomsayers out there saying like this is going to be like the worst World Series of Poker ever. And it's like, if you base poker Twitter on anything, you're going to be shocked at the number of non-poker Twitter followers that they're going to come to Vegas because it's Vegas and they've been cooped up for 18 months and they want to get out and have some fun.
And speaking of Twitter, of course, Kev Math, you will be once again fronting up as the official Twitter czar for the WSOP. It's a role that I know that you've held for a long time. For yourself on both a professional and personal level, it must be exciting just to be able to sort of get back into the midst of it and be amongst the throng of players there at the Rio, and just to live that experience once again.
Oh, definitely. I am definitely itching to get. I've been here. I live in Syracuse, New York, which is basically in the center of the state. And the last time I traveled to play poker was actually March of 2020. So it was like just as COVID really hit the United States. And I've been pretty much in this general area since then. And I'm counting down the days to get on a plane and get to Vegas. I am chomping at the bit to see people I haven't seen in 2 years. It's just something. And I'm sure all too well. People consider the World Series of Poker as the summer camp, and this year's gonna be fall camp. But it's like it's basically when everyone gets together. It's people they haven't met, that they haven't seen since the end of the last WSOP, and it's gonna be good to get together. And with the first, it basically that signifies the first the first big event of the weekend of the opening weekend of WSOP, the $500 reunion, which has a $5 million guaranteed prize pool. And that's definitely going to be something that will sort of gauge how this World Series of Poker will go.
Yeah, that sort of price point and that sort of guarantee, it should attract a big crowd, but that'll be interesting to see. I guess the big talking point in the lead up, Kev Math, to this event this year's WSOP has been the vaccination rule. WSOP announced that all players, all staff, or anybody watching, basically anybody involved in WSOP this year would require to be fully vaccinated before they were allowed to take part. What's the reaction been among the poker community over there to that rule?
Well, it's sort of been an interesting story of how we got to that particular point. So it sort of started early in August when there was a rule and they published the tournament rules. And the rules at the time were saying, if you were in contact with someone who tested positive for COVID, and if you were in with their general area, that you would be disqualified. And that definitely caused a bit of excitement on poker Twitter. And since then, they've sort of been walking it back ever so slowly to the point where, as you mentioned, now that if you are in order to participate, you have to be fully vaccinated. Which is basically you have to have your Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, or the other shots that have been immunizations that have been available around the world 2 weeks before you actually start playing. Now, the one kind of interesting thing is that a slight correction is that dealers and tournament staff do not necessarily have to be fully vaccinated, although it's definitely strongly encouraged. And dealers at the table will be wearing a mask the entire time. Now, as I'm sure people who've been following along, last week was a rule where the state of Nevada had sort of put in some guidelines that if for certain events that you would not be required to wear a mask. And that was a big announcement last week. When you actually see it at the poker table, you do not have to wear a mask. Of course, you have to show that you are fully vaccinated first. Especially in the United States, there's definitely been a very vocal group of people who are very, very much against the vaccine because they feel it's unproven, or they basically feel, they've been given information from some other source that they trust that the vaccination is not safe. Of course, there's we've had a couple 100 million doses of the vaccine. And, obviously there's always going to be a very, 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 very small amount of people that, have been affected in a negative way. But, and we've definitely heard some very vocal members of the poker community basically saying they're not going to attend the WSOP because their stance against, they feel that they've got their natural immunity, or they don't want to get the shot. They feel that they're being under government control, even though this is an event that you can choose to participate in. And at this moment, the other major tournament series around Vegas are not requiring full vaccination. So there was definitely people that were not going to attend that are now attending, and vice versa. Although I would say the mandate that you have to be fully vaccinated is that will definitely bump up the numbers a little bit. Obviously, I'm saying 2/3 of 2019, maybe that'll go up to 75%. But I think the key is going to be how things go in that opening weekend, because that's probably going to be the busiest weekend of the WSB, and it's right at the beginning. And that's definitely, as you said, Lane, this will be my 5th year as the Twitter czar, as it were. I feel that if we get through that weekend all right, then I think it's going to be smooth sailing the rest of the next 6 weeks.
Now, Kev, tell us, what exactly does that entail? What's the day in the life of the Twitter guru there at the Rio?
So, I mean, in a way, it's sort of like my regular role on Twitter. It's like basically people ask me questions and I answer questions. And basically during the World Series of Poker, I'm mainly concentrating on putting out information that's about what's going on each day. People ask me questions about this particular event or satellites later in the day, or basically general questions. Or the constant favorite people ask me is if the Monster Stag is a re-entry event. Certain people love to ask me that question, even though they know the answer. It's been the same pretty much for 7 years now. But people like to ask me questions, and I like to answer questions. And it's sort of like, there's definitely going to be some moments where people are upset about various things, and I'm sort of like trying to be a customer service agent and sort of try to calm them down and just give them the information that they need. Sometimes the anger is obviously directed for WSP for they don't like the food, or they don't like the rake, or a bunch of things are out of my control. But I'm sort of like the person that's I have my little barrier to wheel, as people fire bullets at me, and I'm just trying to dodge all the bullets, like Phil Hellmuth once said.
It's not like poker players to complain. I'm so surprised at that.
I know, really. I'm stunned myself every year.
So, Kevin, we spoke before about the fact that the vaccine rule has created a divide. I mean, I think it's a great rule. I think it's the right way to go. But of course, it's going to create a divide, and as you said, especially in the US, it's very, very one or the other. It seems to be often along political lines. Who are some of the relatively big name players that we probably think are not going to turn up as a result this year?
I would definitely say the two that are most vocal. That have been the most vocal is Alex Foxton and Kristen Bicknell. They have definitely made their opinions well known that they will not be attending World Series of Poker. And Alex has even gone as far to say that he would support a poker tournament that didn't require vaccination. I don't know where he's planning to hold that in the next few weeks, but like I said, there are other Vegas tournament series going on that are not requiring vaccination. They'll be wearing masks, at least as of this moment. But yeah, like I said, I definitely understand. I can appreciate their opinion, even though I strongly disagree with it. I'm all for the requiring vaccination. I've been at the World Series of Poker long enough. There's something that's always goes around every year called the Rio flu, and there's definitely been a few people that have wondered why there's even a World Series of Poker this year, because they're worried about it being a quote super spreader event. I'm hoping common sense prevails. People use good hygiene and try to stay as safe as possible. And I'm definitely worried. I'm definitely worried that there could be cancellation of events because a vast amount of people get sick or test positive. It's definitely a concern of mine, but I think we'll turn out all right. And I think if you've been to World Series of Poker, there's definitely a variety of ways to actually get into and out of the Rio, the tournament area. They have the in the convention center. There's the back entrances. There's the various entrances into the convention center, or you can come in through the casino. And we sort of don't know. They're going to be restricting access somehow, because spectators, they're going to allow a limited number of spectators to watch events, and they have to show that they've been fully vaccinated as well. So I would think that they're going to limit how people will get into the Rio this year, but the exact details of that are not known this time, and that could be something that will cause its own sort of protests in outside the Rio. So it's going to be very interesting what happens over the course of the series.
To the best of your knowledge, Kev, did the WSOP consider rapid testing as an option for entry into the series this year?
To be honest, I don't have inside information about that. I think the issue is that because if they had the expense of having to do that every day, doing several thousand tests a day, and then, there's always a concern about false positives or false negatives. I think the expense sort of put a big damper on that. Maybe I could see towards final tables or the final days of a tournament, they could do something. They could do a rapid testing, but the sheer number of people showing up to play events is just, and the amount of time it's going to take to test all these people, especially it's like an opening weekend where you're expecting 4,000 people, and the tournament starts at 10 o'clock. We're gonna have people showing up at 6, 7 a.m. to register, get the test, make sure they're negative. If they could figure a feasible way of doing that, I could see rapid testing, but not at the start, not at starts of the tournaments. Maybe for big events, maybe in the main event, maybe like on day 5 of the main event, we just make sure everyone's safe. But it's just, like I said, the sheer mass is the issue with having rapid testing done each day. I think there's definitely concerns about people have been claiming that they will show up with a fake vaccination card to play events, or they're worried that certain people will have COVID, but they won't let people know that. I think those are definitely issues that have come up. I personally think the latter is not really. I think if someone says they're positive, they will let the public know. Vaccination issue is. I think there's definitely been a lot of talk that they feel like it's going to be overrun with people who have purchased fake vaccination cards. But I think other things on poker Twitter, they get overblown by a substantial factor. I would not be surprised if someone gets caught, but it's going to be single digits. It's not going to be hundreds of people trying to make their way into playing a 1K no limit.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes this year's WSOP so interesting is that not even just on the field, there's so much that we don't know what's going to happen. It's a lot of, I'll be fascinated to just see how smoothly, as you said, that the first weekend goes. And then as we move through, something will go wrong at some stage. That's just life. And I think that's going to be part of getting used to this whole new world of COVID. So it's interesting to see the WSOP running I guess you'd say the world's biggest poker test later this month. See how things run.
Yeah, definitely. Poker wise, it's going to be interesting, and that's sort of like I said earlier. It's definitely something I personally worry about because I'm going to be the messenger if an event gets canceled or if events get postponed. It's going to be like on me to deliver this news, and it's like I kind of really don't want to do that, but that's what they're paying me to do, so I gotta fight through that. I definitely fear there's going to be. It may not be something COVID related, but there's definitely an issue in the United States with finding available people to work. The second biggest issue is going to be if we're going to have enough staff, if there's going to be enough dealers to accommodate everyone who wants to play an event. I could definitely see there would be a reduction in the amount of cash games or single table satellites or multi-table satellites. They're going to try to get as many dealers doing tournaments over other poker games that are happening. There's been rumors that other Caesars properties will close their poker rooms during the WSOP, and the dealers at those rooms, like Caesars Palace, the Flamingo, other Caesars rooms, will go to be working at the Rio, and they may not necessarily want to do that, but it's going to be an interesting situation. There's like all sorts of there's a lot of unknowns out there, and still 2 weeks out, there's certain things that we don't know that we may not find out until that last week, which is going to be it's going to make this one of the more interesting World Series of Poker series.
Now, Kev, of course, and as you mentioned, players are required to be fully vaccinated in order to participate. There has been some conflicting information in relation to dealers and floor staff, whether or not they have to be fully vaccinated. But my question to you, is that possibly going to change, given that we have seen that recent executive order from President Biden mandating that companies of 100 employees or greater are now required to instill mandatory vaccination orders?
That's a really good question. I would think, because I think the issue again, I don't want to speak for WCP on this, but I think the issue is that certain hourly employees, there's certain labor regulations that they can't sort of force. They can't make people get vaccinated. We've definitely seen our casinos say employees hired at after a certain date has to be vaccinated, hourly and salary employees. I think that's a situation that we're kind of seeing with Caesars. In regards to what President Biden announced, I don't know the exact date that's going to affect. And I have a feeling that may not be official until during the WCP or after the WCP ends. I don't recall seeing an exact date when they want that done. And there's definitely, we're going to see, probably not in Nevada, because Governor Sisolak is definitely, pushing people to get the vaccine. But other states around the country have sort of felt like they would sue to have to avoid having to require employees to get vaccinated. It would be kind of interesting if that date falls somewhere during the WCP, but then you have to get vaccinated. But again, if you get vaccinated, there's that you're not fully vaccinated. That there's that 2-week window. So I'm going to be intrigued to see what happens. But like I said, they are definitely encouraging dealers and staff to get vaccinated.
I should ask too. I mean, there's rumors that this will be the last WSOP at the Rio. So I think they're more than rumors, to be honest. So what's the latest on that, Kev?
Yeah, definitely. The rumors are still the same from earlier in the summer, where the plan, unofficially, of course, I assume they will make some sort of announcement during the World Series program on the 2022 location. But the rumor is that it will be at the combined Bally's Paris Las Vegas Convention Center on the Strip. The one big concern that people have had is that the Rio is really kind of the property itself has seen better days, and as many people know that the Rio has been sold and Caesars will give up control. They're basically running the property for now, but sort of sometime next year that's going to be turned over to another group, and Caesars will just take the WSP and move it. Like I said, it seems like it's going to be at that convention center on the Strip. People say Caesars Palace. That was a rumor. The new convention center that opened, that's operated by Caesars, that was a big rumor that the World Series would be moved there. But it seems like, with let's say 95% certainty, it will be in that Bally's Paris Convention Center. But I have a feeling by May event time we will know officially the 2022 location. I don't have inside information, but it seems like a really good time to announce the plans for the 2022 WSP.
Well, let's talk a bit about the actual poker. Let's have a look at some of the events coming up. World Series of Poker, 30th of September to 23rd of November. I think my dates are right. I think 88 bracelet events, so still a pretty full schedule coming back with a bang. What are you looking forward to most in terms of the events we've got coming up this year, Kevin?
Always the big events are always the events on the weekends. If they put a special name on the event, you definitely expect a lot of people to attend. Like I said, the opening weekend is the reunion. We have the Millionaire Maker, Monster Stack. It's definitely main event, obviously, but it's always the weekends are the ones that sort of generate the most excitement. We also have the debut of the Flip and Go tournament, which will definitely be very interesting to see how that plays out. It's sort of like a a very small amount of skill in that opening round, and then it's a regular tournament where everyone is all in on the first hand. And then if you win your table, then you're in the money, and then you're playing a regular poker tournament. We're going to see a lot. We're going to see more freeze outs. Definitely the re-entry phenomenon is it's caused its issues over the years. People worrying about quote buying a bracelet, but we're seeing more freeze outs. We're definitely, we're seeing more events at the $1,500 and lower price point. That's also another topic that sort of generates a lot of debate among people on Poker Twitter and elsewhere, because they feel that the brand is watered down with the number of bracelets that are awarded. And this year is obviously going to be a record-setting year. There's going to be 175 total bracelets awarded across live and online. We've seen GG Poker, WSP.com in the States. We have, free states that awarded bracelets this year, and maybe we'll see a fourth when Michigan goes online shortly.
You raised just a point I want to quickly touch on too, Kev, about the number of bracelets these days. I mean, that's been a Yeah, I guess there's quite a bit of opinion on that over the years. Winning a bracelet used to be particularly difficult. I mean, it's still an achievement to win one, but the number of events is clearly going up exponentially, especially with online now being an important part of the annual calendar. What are your thoughts on just how many bracelets there are these days?
Well, I'm hoping, this year, like I said, about 175 because of the late start of World Series of Poker and the amount of bracelets awarded in the United States was just a little over 40 this year. Be at least 40 bracelets awarded online in the US and another 33 on outside of the US. I'm hoping that there will be a bit of consolidation in 2022 because we're hoping in the United States to have a shared liquidity. So all the states that have WSB.com will have bracelet events, but it'll be available to, instead of just New Jersey and Nevada only, or Pennsylvania only, or Michigan only, it'll be those states and maybe a couple other ones all playing in the same tournament. That would definitely help. I think with GG, it seems like it's going to be we sort of expect to get a certain amount of bracelet events, but again, if everything is back to normal, quote unquote, hopefully it'll be maybe a little over about 100 events total, because obviously we also have World Series of Poker Europe in the Czech Republic to look forward to after World Series of Poker ends. But I'm hoping it's probably going to be, maybe next year will be a little over 100. But yeah, like you said, definitely people are worried about the brand being watered down by awarding so many bracelets. But I mean, with the past 2 years, there's certain circumstances that sort of caused there to be so many bracelets. But I mean, we may be at a point where it's just going to be over 100 events, award a bracelet, and you sort of don't want to keep creeping higher and higher. We don't want to see 200 bracelets a year, right? I would agree. That seems like too many. 175 is too many, but again, circumstances sort of caused that to happen. But I'm hoping for 2022 that the number drops by a significant amount.
Now, Kev, just before we close out, I just wanted to ask you a very simple hypothetical question. Of course, we are starting to see signs of life again as the vaccination rates go up and everything. And although you are, of course, based in the United States, you have such a foothold within the poker industry there. I know that you do love to travel. You especially love Oz, of course, wearing your Ashes cap there. What are some of the destinations that you're most looking forward to once you have the opportunity to start traveling internationally again?
I mean, I would love to go back to Australia. I mean, I've been to Aussie Millions twice. I would love to go back there again, or some other big. I know the WPT has made a couple visits to Australia in recent years. I'd like to go for maybe play one of those events, or at least I didn't really have the opportunity to sightsee when I was in Australia, so it would definitely be cool to kind of like check things out. See a cricket match or and see some Aussie rules or see some sporting event would be kind of cool. Yeah, I'd like to. I've been to Dublin once. I'd like to go. Maybe go to London. That'd be kind of cool. I've been to the Czech Republic. I'd like to visit Prague. I mean, I've been to Wrocław. Wrocław is an interesting place to be. It's great for poker, not really great for anything else, to be honest. But Prague is definitely a very vibrant poker location. European Poker Tour has had a big event in December in recent years. Obviously before all this happened. So I mean, anywhere that would like to have me attend, I would be more than willing to hop on a plane and go there.
Well, we certainly look forward to seeing you in Australia again one of these days, Kev. I, for one, will certainly be welcoming you with open arms and beer in hand. Mate, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you've got a busy few months ahead of you, and wishing you and, of course, the entire team there at the WSOP the very best of luck for the upcoming series. Enjoy the experience.
I will certainly do my best, and I will have many beers when I'm in Las Vegas over the next 2 months. I'll be. That's something I'm definitely looking forward to, and have to enjoy several years there or anywhere I go.
And to all of our viewers and listeners at home, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, for Ben Blaschke and Kevin Mathers, I'm Landon Blackall. This is Poker Media Australia, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.